In the previous video, we have implemented a class called structure model that will allow us to change the structure model after we have placed it on the map, depending on what we have calculated in the class that we will implement in this video, meaning the road fixer. So before we start, let's see the issue that we have. So let's go to the prefabs. I'm going to go to the road, prefabs, and drag our straight road onto the scene view. Okay, so we have our single road. Let's duplicate it and let's drag it. It looks pretty good. But what we can't place is a dead end at each side. But the issue is that if the road is at this side, the dead end road prefab needs to be rotated 180 degrees on the y-axis. So how do we calculate it? Well, the best way that we can do it is by checking our graph. So as I have discussed previously, we can make sure that we mark in our graph that those spots when our road are placed, so our road prefabs are placed, are marked in the graph as our road type. So if we ask our road, what are your neighbors? So if I place this prefab here and I ask what are your neighbors, it will tell me to the left it is a road. And now I will be able to say, okay, the default rotation of the dead end road is to the right, so I need to rotate it 180 degrees so it fits our road. But what happens if we have this already created and we need to create another road, or we want to create another road here? So again, we would need to convert those two into the dead ends and appropriately rotate them, and this we should delete and put here a four-way street, so it will meet the expected road prefab. So we should have something like this. This will be rotated by 90 degrees, and we can duplicate it and rotate it by -90. And now this will be our output road after we fix the issues. So we need to be able to access the already existing roads, such as this one, to swap it and adjust the placed road to the neighbors that they have after they are placed. Okay, so it might sound difficult, but it really isn't. So let's delete those objects that we have created if you are following along. And all the information about the neighbors we are going to get from the graph. Since we are placing in the graph the information about the currently placed roads, we will be able to retrieve those informations, asking the grid what is at the position to the right from my current position to the left, above and below. Okay, so let's get to it. First of all, we will implement this new class called road fixer. So let's go to the scripts folder. Let's right click and create a road fixer class. Okay, let's open it up in Visual Studio. Okay, in this video we will simply create this class, and in the next one we will tie it together with the already existing code. Let's delete everything that Unity has pre-created for us, and we are going to keep it as mono behavior, and we are going to create public game objects here in this class, so it can adjust the road prefabs depending on what it should be. Now this isn't a perfect solution, but I have chosen to do it like this to make things simple. So we will need to have a dead end. We will have a road straight. We will have corner. We will have three-way. And we will have four-way. So those will be our prefabs that we'll assign to the road fixer through the inspector. Now, we will have the main method called fix road at position. So let's call public void fix road at position. And to this method, we will pass placement manager, since this class doesn't have a reference to the placement manager. So let's type placement manager. I have planned to make this method into a static class, but for now it is not static. Of course, you can refactor it to make it into a static class. And let's pass to it vector3 int. temporary position. Okay, and let's create this method, because here we will need to get the neighbors of the road that we have placed on the temporary position, and then we will need to check those neighbors for what are they and how we should adjust our road. So first, let's get var result, and it will be equal to placement manager, and we are going to call get neighbor types for. Now this is the same method that our grid class had that I have shown you, that simply returns the cell type, and it always is a array of length 4, and it will return none if there is no space or the space is outside of the bounds, empty if this is empty, road if this is road, and structure if it is structure. And we are going to make sure that it returns our right, up, left, and down neighbors. It will always be in this order. If we are performing any checks, we know that if we access the 0 element, it will be the neighbor to the right, first up, second left, and third down. And we do not have this method. We are going to pass to it temporary position. And let's Alt Enter and generate this method. We are going to implement this method after we finish road fixer. Next, let's call int road count equals 0. We will need to know how many neighbors of type road do we have. The easiest way to do it will be to call road count equals result. And I don't think it will create for us the array, it will be an object. So let's go to this method and right click on it and go to the definition and implement it right away. So instead of object, we are going to return cell type. And this will be the array of cell type. And what we are going to call here is var neighbors equals our placement grid, get all adjacent cell types, and this will return to us left neighbor, top neighbor, right neighbor, and down neighbor, as you can see in the description of this method. And what we will need to pass here is the position x, temporary position x, and temporary position y. We can rename it to be the position because we do not care if this is temporary or not, so call it position. Great. And what we are going to do, we are going to return placement grid get, and actually we can simply return it. We do not need to save them into a separate variable. So return placement grid get all adjacent cell types and pass it to position. We can use the arrow, the blue arrow in the top left corner of Visual Studio to go back to our road fixer. Okay. So as we have typed it before, the road count equals results, and we are going to use the link library, so where, and Alt Enter on it, and we will type using system.link at the top of this class to be using system.link. And now we can query our array. So we are going to type x, lambda expression x equals cell type dot road, close the parenthesis dot count. And this line will simply count the instances of type road in our array. Okay, we have that. Now we need to check if our road count is equal to 0, then it means that we do not have any neighbors of type road around us. So we need to create a dead end. So create a dead end, and we are going to pass placement manager our results array. I have called it result, okay, and the temporary position. And actually, there is another count which is 1, so or count is 1, because if we have no road around, or we have one road, this means that we need to create a dead end. Now else, if the road count is 2, now we need to create a straight road. But also, we may want to create a corner, since those roads might be, for example, left and up or left and down, and this will mean that we need a corner. So if, and we need to call create straight road, and this method will simply return true or false if it was able to create a straight road. We are going to pass the same variables as to our dead end, create dead end method. Alt-enter on it to generate it. So if we have created a road, we are going to simply return. And else we are going to call create corner. And if you have copied those parameters, again we are going to pass placement manager, result, and temporary position to this create road, alt-enter, and generate it. And we have two more methods that we need to check. So else if. So if we have our road count equals 3, then we know that we need a three-way. So create three-way, and again paste the same parameters, alt-enter on it and generate it. And else we are going to create four-way and paste the same parameters, and again alt-enter on it and generate this method in this class. Okay, in the next video we are going to implement those methods in our road fixer, so see you there.